Good evening. Welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight. Of course, sitting down with tonight is Techie with Mrs. Techie Joe, and we're going to have a old-fashioned show. We haven't done this one for a little while because I normally have been taking authors, but when our authors couldn't make it tonight. All right, so what do you got for me? Let's start with the Psychic Inquirer story.
Oh, well, this is a Psychic Inquirer, but it might as well be. This is actually Fox 13. Utah Attorney General knew about nonprofit psychic paid to speak with dead Mormon leaders, Tribune reports. So this is out of Salt Lake City. A bipartisan group of lawmakers says they are frustrated with the lack of transparency surrounding Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes and his ties to Tim Ballard. Reyes and Ballard are known friends and partners. For years, Reyes has promoted Operation Underground Railroad, the nonprofit founded by Ballard. In his non-government capacity, Reyes went undercover during at least one mission with Ballard through OUR. Reyes was listed as an associate producer on the feature film Sound of Freedom, which told the story of Ballard's creation of OUR. Recently, Reyes changed his LinkedIn profile to highlight Utah Attorney General instead of associate producer Sound of Freedom. On Friday morning, Reyes publicly addressed allegations of sexual harassment, spiritual manipulation, grooming, and sexual misconduct by several female OUR employees against Ballard. In response, OUR opened an internal investigation and permanently separated from Ballard. Reyes said he was shocked and deeply saddened by the sexual misconduct allegations. He said Ballard should have the presumption of innocence and the women should have a presumption of credibility. A general consultant for Reyes said Reyes has chosen to no longer endorse anyone in the U.S. Senate race. Reyes previously implied he would be endorsing Ballard. His statement did not address the criminal fraud investigation of Ballard and OUR, but the Utah Attorney General's office did answer questions from the Salt Lake Tribune via email. The Utah Attorney General's office stated Reyes knew about OUR's use of a, quote, psychic medium named Janet Russin. Russin was reportedly paid to give Ballard information on missing or trafficked children by speaking with, quote, dead Mormon leaders, including the prophet Nephi. The Utah Attorney General's office stated psychics provide helpful information and useful evidence on occasion. These are directly quoted, helpful information and useful evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, low. We've been doing it for years.
Yeah. Was Reyes aware of Ballard's use of a psychic to provide intelligence during operations? Did he personally see Janet Russin providing operational intel? Did he consider that normal? Is it something he would rely on during investigations or operation? Is Reyes aware of Tim suggesting that President Ballard had supported, condoned, or approved of Janet's role in operations? Attorney General Reyes was aware of OUR and some law enforcement agencies' use of psychic assistance to generate information for operations. He did not personally witness Janet provide operational intel. Such sources are not admissible to directly prove a crime, but on occasion provide helpful information leading law enforcement to useful evidence, including for lost or abducted individuals. The AGO investigative team does not consult with psychic sources. Attorney General Reyes is not aware that Tim has made any representations about Janet and President Ballard. Russin was being paid a monthly consultant fee of approximately $5,000 with an hourly operational readings contract of approximately $1,560, according to Brian Purdy, an investigator with the Davis County Attorney's Office. Some lawmakers say Reyes' communication surrounding his ties to Ballard and OUR have not been transparent enough. Both high-ranking Republicans and Democrats have voiced concerns. Some have chosen to not yet reveal their names, others have. So many questions that still need to be answered by those close to Tim Ballard, wrote Senator Mike McKell, Spanish Fork. If I were a donor, I'd be livid. I was in criminal law for 12 to 13 years and never once heard of using a psychic in law enforcement. I don't know how that wouldn't raise red flags, said Representative Andrew Stoddard. That is wild to me. I think of all the well-intentioned people who have been donating to this organization for years, and now they're padding the salaries of psychics. Documents released by the Utah Attorney General's office show Reyes and his chief of staff, Rick Cantrell, had a, quote, conflict of interest related to the criminal fraud investigation run by the FBI and Davis County Attorney's Office. Reyes and Cantrell were forbidden from discussing the case with any witness or potential witnesses. The document is dated December 2020, long before allegations of sexual misconduct were made public. At least a portion of the criminal fraud investigation has concluded without the filing of charges. There's a lot going on in Utah. Jesus.
I know. It's been a little interesting, to say the least, here lately. But the Vice broke this story. When was the story broke? September 20th. And apparently there's... Why is she there? Why did she need to go to Haiti?
Yeah, like, this isn't just getting information from a psychic. She was basically on a contract to provide operation support and paid another $5,000 on top of that. Like, and literally it sounds like there may have been some passing of information that basically OUR was almost acting as an intermediary for the Attorney General's office, who did not have direct contact with her, to effectively have direct contact with her.
See, okay,
like,
I'm going to sound like
I can understand there being some upset with that. Like, effectively, it sounds like a nonprofit primarily aimed at, and for, like, again, good things, like helping, like, missing and exploited children. Sounds more like it got railroaded, if you will, bad pun, but effectively got railroaded into being a psychic pimp for the Utah Attorney General.
See, this is why I have such high protocol when I go to work any of these cases.
Mm-hmm.
One, there is no need to be on the ground. None. I can do much more work from my command center than I can be anywhere else, first of all. Mm-hmm. So I do not understand what she's doing in Haiti, why there's approximately $5,000 with an hourly optional reading contract of approximately $1,560 by it.
Well, and it sounds like that's per operation.
Yeah.
Per operation. This isn't like she's getting paid the $5,000 plus another $1,600. This is the $5,000 and then $1,600 and whatever it is per operation. So, like, if she does nothing, she gets $60,000 a year.
No.
And then if she handles 100 cases per year, she gets another 150 some thousand on top of that. I believe I did that math right. 100 cases times the $1,000 some dollars. So yeah, no, that's a very large amount of money. I mean, she could basically live off of this one client.
Right.
And effectively, people think they're giving money to an organization that helps children,
Yeah.
which it ostensibly sounds like they do. But primarily, that money is going straight into her pocket.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Well, it was funneled through her nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
She approximately made $125,000 last year.
Uh-huh. Okay, so it sounds like she's handling closer to 50 cases a year.
Yeah.
But that's how quickly that adds up. Like that,
right.
that's a lot of money to make off of a single client.
Right.
Like that's almost a disreputable amount of money to make off a single client.
Right. What is going on with LDS?
I'm just going, is this another part of the weird LDS?
No,
like
this is direct straight out of Salt Lake.
Well, yeah, but we keep seeing there's this weird offshoot LDS. Like it isn't LDS, but they were all raised LDS, or were
and I get that
LDS, and then they.
Yeah, but see, this is what gets me and what worries me.
It's like when LDS goes goth, basically.
Well, I get that, and I understand that, and that's all comfortable and good. But I have some problems.
Okay.
With this whole concept of her.
Okay.
There is no need for a psychic to be on the ground. Ever. The U.S. Army has found out there is no need for us to be on the ground. The CIA has found out there is no need for us to be on the ground. Why is she on the ground? First off. Second off, why is she working directly with the director? No.
Well, and again, she's supposed to be helping with OUR operations. And I think the article is bringing up the point that is that true? Because again, it looks like there's a potential intermediary line where OUR is basically an information pimp. Like the attorney general could call up OUR, get OUR to call up her. She does a reading. OUR calls the attorney general's office.
Right.
And just effectively, it's a game of telephone, but there's a lot of close friends here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't and there's too much money going into it.
Right.
And especially because no matter how you slice it, either they're using private donations to pay for her.
Right.
In which case, that looks like a big problem for a nonprofit.
Well, it is, and it should be a big problem for a nonprofit. First of all,
because that's
what is our
operational
thing? Yeah. Second of all, why is her name even in the file? Why is it in the file?
Okay.
Why was she not? Yeah. Why is she the executive director of Children Needs Families?
Mm-hmm. So again, it's a lot of closely interlinked. Like these all sound like genuine nonprofits that people would donate to.
Yeah.
So it also raises the question, are these even legitimate nonprofits? Like, are they actually doing a thing, or are they a nice tax shelter?
Right.
that has a direct line to the Utah Attorney General's office.
Right.
Who I'm pretty sure would be the one to investigate.
Right.
Illegitimate nonprofit.
Right.
Like, again, that raises red flags all over the place for me.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it can't be innocent. I'm just saying it doesn't look innocent.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it has a lot of opportunity to be a very deep, deep, deep rabbit hole.
Right.
Of illegal situations.
Right.
Or it could be perfectly innocent.
Well, and I understand perfectly
overpaid,
that.
Overpaid.
But you don't funnel your damn money. Like, if you're paying for readings, you get a bill that says Aeson Knight. It doesn't say, migrant workers for health.
Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah.
Or the Sunshine Committee, first of all. Second of all, why is she like, no?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had conversations, and granted, it would be more headaches. At least in West Virginia, it'd be more headaches than it would be worth. Literally, technically, you are providing, spiritual services, so
right.
You would technically qualify as a religious institution, a nonprofit religious institution. So theoretically, you should be able to start a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Except the realities are it doesn't exactly work that way.
Right.
Like, could you get a really good accountant and a really good attorney and try to wedge it through? Possibly.
Well,
but you're going to have them going through your books with a fine-tooth comb, and they're not going to be happy about it.
Well, no, because they're going to owe me a lot of money back because I pay my taxes. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm annoyed with is the lack of fucking ethics.
Mm-hmm.
One, if I work with a cop, I'm working with a cop. One cop, I'm not working with the family. I am not going. They can use my information, but they have to back it up with documentation, which they did not do, especially in that failed mission in Haiti. They had no documentation. Two, I'm not going anywhere. The pandemic has proven I can run anything from this desk. There's no need for me to be on the ground.
All right, but here's a question.
Right.
All of, across the psychic industry, each of you have your own skills, talents, abilities, etc. Is it possible that she's a physical in contact, she's got to touch it, feel it, smell it, be there? Versus, because that is a thing. So there are people who cannot do network.
Right. And that's understandable. But these fees are enormously insane.
But is there any way, though, they could be reasonable?
No.
I think the pay structure is kind of...
Well, first of all,
unless they're working, unless they are working her like a dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, we are on the phone with her 7 days a week, 4 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you did the math, it starts to make more sense. But I'm going otherwise, if you're talking about some, 20, 30-minute phone calls here and there, and you're talking about a couple hours of operational support, that's billing out high. Especially nonprofit to nonprofit.
Right.
Generally speaking, you tend to cut a discount.
Yeah.
But then I'm sitting here going, this is not someone who is high profile enough to be a household name.
No.
So, you know what I mean? Like, there are instances where people get, like, if this was Sylvia Brown, I know she's dead, but she would
Well,
be
no,
like,
you bring up a great example. None of her investigations was ever paid investigations when she worked with police. Ever. No police department wrote her a check. When Chris works on police investigations, nobody writes him a check.
well, here's my other problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing a lot for her.
No.
Like, outside of OUR, like, she has a Facebook page and an Instagram.
And the LinkedIn that you'll have to look at.
Okay.
Because I can't.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of people currently talking about her. There's a lot of news involving her.
Here, see if you can get a booking page, because I can't even find a booking page.
All right, let me see what. Okay, there we go. No. Well, let me see if it'll still let me in. I haven't logged into my LinkedIn. No. Oh, I don't want to rejoin. Sorry. There we go. God, I haven't. Oh. Okay, so yeah, no, it's sending me down a rabbit hole. So yeah, no. I mean, if your booking page is on LinkedIn, that's screwed up.
Right.
Like, I'm just sitting here. Like, I'm not seeing the things. Like, it's not like she does anything else but support this organization with her nonprofit.
Right.
Like, she doesn't have a website for her. I mean, unless she's operating under a different name.
No, she has a media company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just. Oh. I don't know. This. Yeah. Like, again, I mean, like, if you were identified by your full legal name in a news article,
Right.
is what I'm running under, is no one would ever
Right.
jump to the conclusion that, oh, obviously this is your website.
Right.
Well, okay, and children needs families is an adoption grants subdivision of OUR.
Yeah.
So it sounds like just how many jobs for this? Oh, she worked as a full-time executive director for the Children Needs Families program for the last 2 years with a starting salary of $122,000 per year and a final salary of $125,000 per year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like money on top of money.
Right.
Utah, what the hell are you doing?
Someone needs to like review OUR. And see, this
Yeah.
is why I am such a proponent, such a very big proponent, and nobody likes it. I fuss, bitch, whine, complain, will continue to complain um, that we do not have a governing body of psychic registry, psychic union, psychic anything. That goes, no, this is how you deal with this. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is why you say this. This is what you do. This is how this is done. No, you cannot read medical. No, you cannot read legal. No, you will not be working on a case unless you are verified and that you have done the proper steps for this.
I don't know. I'm just having a moment here
Mm-hmm.
because I'm wondering if she's just being identified for the news by her legal name, and like there's a Jenny from the block,
Uh-huh.
that is also her, that has a profile and a web page, and you can book her services and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Because otherwise, like, prove it.
Right.
Like, is she really, or is this just like a whole cloth invention that she's even a psychic?
Well, I can't find her anywhere.
I know, that's what I'm saying, is like, because, or like, as in, what I'm questioning is, or is psychic being used in this context as person with information they shouldn't have?
Mm-hmm.
As in, she's getting to see both sides of the table.
Right.
And it's not that she is legitimately psychic. She is sitting out here getting informant information and information that wouldn't be properly illegally obtained, and then basically laundering that information through, she's a psychic, and spitting it out.
Right.
Like, that's, again, I think this is going to be a deep rabbit hole.
Well, that's just it. I'm wondering also, since she made the news, if she didn't shadow. I mean, because everything that I'm seeing here is failed predictions, failed operations, failed operation, failed operation, failed operation.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Like, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of a. I think this might be one of those times psychic isn't being applied in its proper context.
Well, no, I think she works as a psychic. Like, there's documentation of that. There's documentation that she channels whoever this dead dude is.
Nephi or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Where else have we seen this at? We've seen this in the Larry Valdez case. We've seen this in the Frankie plus 8 case, 8 passengers case.
Right. That's what I was asking earlier. Is this part of that weird? They were LDS, and then they split off. Like, they like went goth, and like crazy goth, not like normal goth, but like
Right.
crazy goth, like what LDS thinks goth is.
Right.
And then just like totally left the rails.
Right.
Just like, we're not talking like, oh, they've joined the woo. We're talking they've like passed the woo. The woo was like 5,000 miles back.
Right.
They've got well past that.
Right.
They're over here in like crazy conspiracy theory tinfoil hat land.
Right.
They have
I've
meds
been, well, I've been noticing a few things here lately
okay.
that, like, certain things get wiped really quickly.
Hmm.
Internet archives. Yeah, she's wiped herself.
Oh. So she'll do a reinvent once the
Yeah,
dust settles, if she hasn't already, and is
right.
continuing to.
Yeah,
I mean, at the money she was making, she may not have to for a while.
right.
She could just lay low.
Yeah.
Like, don't draw attention to herself. Don't do, like, love of God, don't sign a book deal.
I will, let me run this real fast through the search engine.
Okay.
And then I will, remind everybody. Please, if you're looking for a local reader, go visit thebestpsychicdirectory.com. Click the directory home and choose your state. These are vetted. They have been through the ringer. Bob, don't bring on just anybody. Save us all the time from talking about you.
Oh, yeah.
When you end up in court having to sue them for fake psychic. And no, guess who isn't listed here? Nowhere to be found.
Although, again, how quick. I know that Bob, or Bob's Best, does not initially bring on. Well, but he does background checks over
He
time.
does background checks. He does interviews.
Sorry. Well, yeah, because that's how it starts, but he also updates that.
Yes.
Okay. Shit. I wonder if all this got her scrubbed from there as well.
His records would still be here.
Okay.
Yeah, he would still have her listed because you can't just leave it.
Okay. Like, does he have, like, if someone gets discredited?
It stays there.
Well, yeah, but does he update it to reflect that?
Yes.
Like, that they're involved in some potentially shady things. Like,
right. Well,
you need to get on here to be positively promoted. Currently, it's gonna bite you in the ass.
Right. No, he lays it out for you.
Okay.
And it stays there. It's like, nope, if you're part of Bob's Best American, you're going to be there. And it will say
Unverified, not verifiable.
Unrecommended.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but again, I wonder, like, because I'm just having a moment. I think this is definitely one of those situations. She was probably never there to begin with.
Right.
Because I'm not picking up strong vibes in the story that she was ever legitimately independently paid for readings.
Right.
Like, I don't feel like she was ever someone that, like, had a fucking Facebook that talked about her readings. Right. And click here to book an appointment and catch me on the network and I'm going to this event. Like, I don't think she did the things. Right. I think she just kind of, like, showed up one day and went, I'm a psychic. And pay me money, sign the contract.
Right.
For one organization.
Right.
To put her in a lifestyle I'd like to become accustomed to.
Write a book or two.
Or apparently just, like, move to Utah and get like $250,000 for like claiming to talk to Nephi,
Right.
and then not provide any useful information whatsoever,
Right.
while sitting on a nonprofit organization that supposedly writes grants for adoption.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, this just sounds like.
What does she do? A tarot card reading to decide if you're a good adoptive parent? Now, granted, I've seen, I've been offered children with less, but okay.
True. But I don't even think it's that. I think it's just this like weird, like,
Yeah. Like,
it
there is a
feels like
lot
someone
of
told a
psychic.
joke and no one's laughing.
Yeah.
It is everything I'm picking up is like this is some kind of weird joke.
Right.
Like, this is not legit.
Yeah.
Never was it ever legit. Like, it was never supposed to be legit. It was just a tax classification that was acceptable.
Right.
Like, I'm horrified. Utah, get your shit together. And the fact that you have two questionable nonprofits that are directly tied to the Utah Attorney General,
Yeah.
who would, in fact, be the one, I do believe, to investigate an illegitimate nonprofit. Like, that's a lot of issues.
Right.
Oh, so yeah, so there's that one. Oh my God. The things that go on. Oh, what rabbit hole have you found? I know that face.
I'm just going through someone's tweet thread.
Just to see if there's any like legit business tweets.
No, this is a reporter covering the story, and it has more in it than.
Sorry, guys. That was my fault. I forgot to go work. Oh, was the reporter having the same questions I did?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying high school journalism didn't do some good things for me.
Right.
Like,
The investigative journaling out there is great.
I mean, because this almost reads like a bad episode of Psych.
Yeah.
Like, but like, I don't even think she has that kind of intuitive ability.
Well, not only that, but what I find highly interesting is they gave her a freaking position in their other company to make it sound like she wasn't doing her job, but then fucked up and recorded her readings fees also.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds more like she was wanting or basically getting paid twice.
Right.
So you're getting paid once over here, and then you're also getting paid again by the organization.
Plus, your travel is getting paid for a trip to Haiti and other locations.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure you're running well, and then I'm sure you're taking all the tax advantages.
Right. Because it's all nonprofit to nonprofit to nonprofit to nonprofit.
Right. And it's what I'm saying is this is just it's a nonprofit shell.
Yeah.
It's a really candy coating,
Yes.
like the Russian nesting doll of nonprofits.
Right. I mean, do they have a nonprofit for cookies in the kitchen? We need a coffee nonprofit. That's what we need, a coffee nonprofit. Yes, I'm that annoyed.
Church of Espresso, what?
Yes.
I mean, again, it's not like argumentatively, one could almost say that a lot of religious organizations basically are, shell nonprofits.
Right.
That fundamentally, they're a business.
Mm-hmm.
They're a huge business.
Right.
That just doesn't pay taxes or pays very limited taxes.
Right.
If ever they should, have an accountant screw up,
Right.
they still wouldn't be paying a fair share.
All right. So let's move on to the next heat beat.
Where are we going?
Oh, I don't know. Let's go down the list here because you have me all set up.
Okay. I forgot what my next was.
McCarthy.
Oh, yes. There we go. So Kevin McCarthy ousted as House Speaker by Republican rebels. Revolt by hardliners unseats GOP leader, bringing fresh turmoil to Washington. Kevin McCarthy has been ousted as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, becoming the first leader in the history of the lower chamber of Congress to be removed from the position. In a dramatic 216 to 210 roll call vote on Tuesday afternoon, the House endorsed a motion to vacate to fire McCarthy from the speakership. 8 Republicans voted against their party leader and sided with 208 Democrats sealing his removal. The unprecedented vote sets the stage for an election to select a new speaker, though as of Tuesday night, there was no consensus candidate among House Republicans, and a vote to elect the new speaker was not expected until at least next week. McCarthy told Republicans at a closed-door meeting after his ouster that he would not run again for speaker. He later confirmed his decision in a post on X, formerly Twitter. Quote, I may have lost a vote today, but I fought for what I believe in, and I believe in America, McCarthy said. It has been an honor to serve. McCarthy's ouster underscores the sharp divides in the Republican Party and threatens to usher in a new era of dysfunction in Washington. The House cannot carry out legislative business until a speaker is elected. The impasse comes as a fraught time for Congress, with a stopgap measure to fund the government set to run out in mid-November, and lawmakers at odds about whether to approve more U.S. aid to Ukraine. Quote, this is uncharted waters, said Jim Clyburn, the veteran Democratic congressman from South Carolina. Nobody knows what will happen. Patrick Henry, a Republican congressman from North Carolina and close McCarthy ally, has been designated Speaker pro tem to lead the chamber in the absence of an elected speaker. McHenry said it would be prudent for the House to go into recess so that Democratic and Republican members could meet separately and discuss the path forward. The Speaker is the most senior member of the lower chamber of Congress and the second in the presidential line of succession behind the Vice President. The Republican revolt against McCarthy was led by Matt Gaetz, the firebrand congressman from Florida, who decided to move after the Speaker struck a deal with Democrats to avert a government shutdown over the weekend. Republicans controlled the lower chamber by a razor-thin margin, which gave a small number of GOP rebels power in their battle against McCarthy. Earlier on Tuesday, Democratic leaders rolled out suggestions they would help McCarthy keep power, advising their members to vote yes to oust the Speaker. It is now the responsibility of the GOP members to end the House Republican Civil War. Hakeem Jeffries, the top House Democrat, said in a letter to party colleagues. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said President Joe Biden hoped the House would quickly elect a new speaker. The American people deserve leadership that puts the issues affecting their lives front and center, she added. The vote to remove McCarthy has laid bare the deepening splits within the Republican Party, with the divides threatening to make Congress's lower chamber ungovernable. Several of the Republicans who voted to remove McCarthy on Tuesday had also opposed him in his bid to become Speaker earlier this year. McCarthy was only elected on the 15th round of voting in January.
Right.
Oh, so yeah, the rest of the story goes in a little more detail about what he did and why they're outing him, and it all does sum back up to he struck a deal.
Right.
To prevent a government shutdown.
Right. But the reason that these 18, and there's 18 of them, are throwing a fit is one, news media, and two, in the new carry on as usual, they can't get raises.
I don't know. I think they're setting a stage to not be able to elect a speaker and potentially move into a situation where nothing gets done.
Right.
Like, because we've been doing this for years now.
Right.
Like, we've dealt with this and just this is how life has been. I think they finally found a way to make sure that nothing gets done.
Right.
And, well, we just can't vote on a Speaker of the House. And until we vote a Speaker in, we can't work.
See, and I think we need to have safeguards put in place. Like, we have the nuclear option. We should have a nuclear option for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, you can't vote them in. You get 20 votes. After 21 votes, the people vote. Everybody gets either reelected or crashed. Hello, Miss Brenda.
I'm wondering if there is a nuclear option that would declare a House of Representatives so dysfunctional as to unseat everyone.
Right.
And do a special election.
Right.
Like, start over.
See, and no one's talking about that yet. See, because I know that if it was Parliament, the King could literally declare the House of Commoners unfunctional and declare them to be removable.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's where we've been at.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we've done. And I'm not even going to say it's a one-sided thing. It's been worse. We have to all agree. It has definitely been worse when Republicans, even with a thin razor margin, are in control. But it's been worse bipartisanly.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's been bad bipartisanly. How ground up stuck
right.
we have been for at least the last 2 decades trying to pass legislation.
Right.
At all. Anything. You name it. We are always seemingly mere minutes from a government shutdown.
Right.
I don't know how many more rounds can we do this? How many more years?
Well, until we get it's going to at least be 4.
I mean, they have now set a record.
Yeah.
Not a good one. Not a good one. Of removing, for the first time in history, a Speaker of the House.
Right.
Because I was waiting for that sentence to go off into, this hasn't happened since 17, blah, 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 blah. Like, we run into those. That, like, right. This is a nearly unprecedented event. No, this is unprecedented. It has never happened. can I just point out, Mitch McConnell survived.
Yeah, for now. But he was in the Senate.
I know, but if you're gonna like vote someone out,
Mm-hmm.
like look at Mitch McConnell. Does anyone like him? Anyone at all?
Well, why can we not get Nancy back? At least she kept the government running.
You know, there's that. There is. But no, I mean, like, Jesus, McCarthy. Like, and you know, he had to be doing this knowing what was about, what could potentially happen.
Right.
So I'll give him props for that. Like, I'm sure there were threats before he did this.
Right.
So I will at least give him credit for that. I struggle, but I will give him credit points, some brownie points for the fact that I'm sure this was threatened before he did it.
Yes, this was threatened. He knew it. That's why he gave them literally 90, did not even give them 90 minutes to read the bill. He paged them and took them an hour and a half to get to the thing. He handed them he called the session into order. He called for a vote immediately on the bill, and it was the minority leader that spoke for 52 minutes while everyone read the bill. Nobody remembers what our minority leader spoke on. Nobody was paying attention to it. He could have been singing happy birthday for 52 minutes, and that would have been fine because they were fastly reading the bill. And the only line that got rejected was they could vote for a pay raise during this, continue as usual.
Hey, for things to get rejected.
Yep.
You always got to give them something to throw out. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like, in a contentious group, you got to give them something to come together and throw out. Oh, but no. So I will give him brownie points for the fact that he at least continued operation of the government through November, but and did so knowing this was where this was going to head.
Right.
Like, I'll give him much credit for that.
Right.
Because there are many who would have just buried their heads in the sand and been like, we're going to shut down the government.
Well, they know that every time they shut down the government from their stupidity, they lose an election. That was his whole contentious point. We will lose control of the House and the Senate if we shut down the government.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the big talkers, and that's what I call them, the big talkers. They're really there just to make news.
Yes. But the big talkers,
yeah, you know, are all the ones making the news. They're all the ones going on about everything right now. All right, so I'm tired of talking politics. Let's go into something very important. And the news story is touted wrongly.
Okay.
Go for it.
No. The emergency alert?
Yes.
All right. An emergency alert test will sound October 4th. So that's tomorrow, guys. On all U.S. cell phones, TVs, and radios, here's what to expect. Your electronic devices may alarm you on Wednesday, but there's a reason for that. A nationwide test of the Federal Emergency Alert System will be broadcast approximately 2:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time to cell phones, televisions, and radios across the United States. The test will occur simultaneously across time zones, so people in the middle of the country can expect it at 1:20 p.m. Central, 12:20 Mountain. On the West Coast, it will be at 11:20 Pacific. In most of Alaska, it's at 10:20 a.m. and in Hawaii, 8:20 a.m. local time. Most Americans with wireless cellular devices will receive an emergency alert message on their phones, as will most whose televisions or radios are on when the test occurs. Oh, what is an emergency alert? The Federal Emergency Management Agency will conduct Wednesday's test in coordination with the Federal Communications Commission. Emergency alert messages that make up the test are divided into two groups: the emergency alert system for radios and televisions, and the wireless emergency alerts for wireless phones, although both are scheduled to happen at once.
Okay.
Wednesday will... Pardon?
Wednesday is going to be Catch a Cheater Day, and if you have a secondary phone for emergency situations, please make sure it is turned off. In abusive situations.
And don't turn it back on until you are away.
Yes.
Because the minute you turn it on, it will occur. You will receive the message.
Yes.
So, yeah, Wednesday will mark the 7th nationwide test of the emergency alert system. 6 previous tests were conducted over the years between November 2011 and August 2021. This will be the 3rd nationwide test of wireless alerts and the 2nd nationwide test transmitted to all cell phones, FEMA said in a statement. As the wireless emergency alert test is sent out to phones, the emergency alert system test will be sent to televisions and radios. With the combination, you're going to catch a wide swath of people, said Joseph Trainer, a core faculty member at the University of Delaware's Disaster Research Center, who studies the design of disaster warning systems and how they operate, with a particular focus on mobile warning systems and smart warning systems. Trainer has worked with government agencies before in the U.S. and abroad to develop their emergency warning systems and procedures. Right. We know that they are effective systems, Trainer told CBS News. Like any system, there are strengths and weaknesses. How many characters you can use, how much you can transmit, how fast you can get it out. Every system has limits, and that's why we tell people when we are giving advice about building warning systems, you don't ever want to rely on just one thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So cheaters, make sure you turn your phones off and you don't turn them on until you take them out of the house, because it will alert you if you turn it on in the bathroom. Those in domestic violence security systems, please make sure that you turn those off and you do not turn them on until your abuser is away from you. Yes. Or you have no other choice.
Keep yourself safe.
Yep. And I guess we need to add extra hours so that we can deal with that on October 4th here.
Well, and then but here's the thing, though, with everyone's phones going off all at once, would you inherently notice, like, if you're in a 2-person, 2-cell phone household, so you think, would you necessarily notice the 3rd phone unless you, like, even if you were right beside it, would you necessarily notice it?
Well, I don't know. If you hear it coming from underneath the seat of your car, your husband's truck, you might. Because it's at 2:40 in the afternoon. Everyone is out picking their children up.
True. Well, but even still, I would hope if you're a cheater, you did better.
No, they're sloppy.
The phone on. Well, fair enough. If you're someone looking to survive abuse, technically your phone should be off until you are ready to leave.
Right.
And only turned on when you are doing things that actively support leaving.
Right.
So, one would assume. Like, typically that's not a phone I think they suggest you carry with you at all times. It's supposed to be in a safe place.
Right.
Battery charge, ready to go when you leave.
Right. So, just saying. I might want to extend our setback.
Yeah. All right, Brenda's comment is, Joe, you're asking that people actually think beforehand and act intelligently.
Yeah. Mom, I'm on air. You're supposed to be watching me. I don't want your commentary right now. All right. So Well, well, I get called an asshole because I sent her to voicemail. Well, what do you got for Am I the Asshole?
All right, am I the asshole for refusing to apologize? Background info. My husband loves cooking. He goes all out for dinners, and even his lazy meals can seem extravagant at times, so our children have a mature palate. He especially loves when we have guests that when he goes all out for sure, he plans his meals in advance and gets extremely excited. My husband and I had a dinner with our friends and our kids. My husband made us Arabic salad and garlic bread on the side with mashed potatoes and braised duck served with a sauce. When everyone came, we had 3 parents and 7 children. My husband and I served everyone food, and everyone was complimenting it. But my husband noticed one of my friends, let's call her Melissa, her child not eating, so he asked him if he didn't like the food, and he nodded his head no. And Melissa chimed in and said he doesn't have a mature palate. And my husband said, sorry, we have more mashed potatoes. Maybe he can eat it without the sauce. Melissa said he doesn't eat mashed potatoes. My husband said, that's fine. I can microwave or make him something quick. Melissa said, thank you, and told him frozen chicken nuggets would be good. My husband said, oh, we don't eat frozen food, but how about cereal, PB&J, grilled cheese, or leftover spaghetti bolognese? And she said cereal. Next thing that happened, my husband served the ice cream and carrot cake. Melissa's other son, 8, said this ice cream was so good. My daughter, 4, said me and my daddy made it. We don't eat the store-bought crap. This is my fault. I was mocking my husband earlier, asking him what he was making, and he said ice cream, and I said it in a sarcastic way that we are too good for store-bought crap. Huh. It was a force of habit. Me and my husband thought that if we don't point out that we used a bad word, our daughter would not notice, and obviously we were wrong, but 100% sure she didn't say it with any bad intentions. And everyone laughed. Now, yesterday I received a call from Melissa saying she felt like me and my husband were looking down on her and mommy shaming her because we said we don't eat frozen food. I was just about to apologize because I never want to make someone feel mommy shamed until this woman said she feels sorry for my daughter because she can already see my snobbishness and self-centeredness spreading to her because of that comment my daughter made about crap ice cream. And that's where I draw a line. I told her not to mention my daughter's name when wanting to address me, and she shouldn't worry about feeling inferior because she will never be invited to my home again. Our friend decided to get involved, and they keep saying that I should apologize because they don't want to be left in the middle of it, and they feel like I was wrong because I should have known the food was too mature for a kid's palate. I honestly don't care. I have friends outside of this friend group and honestly don't mind cutting them off. I know this might be an exaggerated reaction, but I am very sensitive about my daughter and want to know if I am overreacting.
See, let me get the poll set up, but I've got some thoughts here.
Okay.
And here's my thoughts. 1, I don't think she's overreacting. The child should not have been included at all.
Okay, so we're talking about the friend, not the OP.
I'm talking about the friend.
Okay. I'm there. I think Melissa has valid points, and I think the friend in between, in the middle of it, has some valid points.
Right. And then we have what I call the problem.
Okay.
We have a husband who I find interesting that he's cooking. Like, he's the one who does the cooking. He's the one who does this. But she's having to deal with Melissa. okay, is being addressed to her, and she's raising her daughter to be a snob. When it's not her that's the snob.
Fair enough. I one like I'm gonna go with you're the asshole. That's my vote on this one. I think this was a poorly planned idea of a dinner party
Mm-hmm.
that did not appropriately accommodate small children, because
Right.
these were small children.
Right.
I mean, I understand, and I think
Right.
every kid should be exposed to a situation where they do the fine dining thing, and
Right.
this is a fancy part, and that may include things that they're just not really that into.
Right.
And be prepared to be polite
Right.
and learn what that means. I also think that when you do that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be reasonable
Right.
with, okay, what age group kids are we dealing with? Like, how far can you push that envelope till we're off the reservation?
Okay.
Like, we are outside the post office. We have left the post office. We are now in international mail territory.
Well, and see, that's where I am like, a little confused, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
We have a house guest. He's an adult house guest. I hit Walmart, grab fries, grab chicken nuggets. They go in the freezer. There's PB&J in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case that is.
Yeah, I don't think well, but also they had PB&J and cereal.
Right.
But I don't think there's a lot of comprehension of the concept of safe foods.
Right.
I think we have this universal idea, like the Golden Plate or the Clean Plate Club.
Right.
I don't know why Golden came out, but the Clean Plate Club
Right.
is a very pervasive idea
Right.
of you're going to eat whatever I put on your plate, and you're going to eat all of it.
Right.
So much so that I think it's influenced what we think of as acceptable
Right.
when we have guests, and I mean that in terms of like an across the board for
Right.
everyone, is that your commandment in civility is to choke down food you don't want,
Right.
to be polite. And I don't think that's politeness. When I say be polite about it,
Mm-hmm.
try it. Be willing to try it.
Right.
But also as a host,
Right.
you should plan a menu that makes sense
Right.
for who you're inviting over.
Right.
Like if you are inviting over someone with like a nut and dairy allergy,
Right.
you don't make an entire meal covered in nuts and dairy and get mad
Right.
when someone looks at you and says, I can't eat that.
Right. Or the culture do not eat meat and dairy on the same plate.
Like, hi, we're inviting over all the Muslims and we're serving.
Well, exactly. Or, all the there's some people that don't eat meat there. And, food gets on my nerves anyhow when it comes to people and culture. Is they don't understand some cultural references. They don't understand, know who you're cooking for.
Yeah, cheeseburger, hamburger, helper, and
Right.
Inviting over your Jewish friends is a bad
Right.
idea.
Unless they're bad Jewish people.
You need to know. Well, yeah, there are. I don't want to call them bad Jewish people, but there are some people who go, yeah, I'm technically not supposed to eat that, But what my mama don't know doesn't kill me.
Right.
And I say that in the words of a friend of mine from college. Her favorite damn thing in the world was cheeseburger.
Right.
Religiously, this was a bad, bad, bad thing for her.
Right.
And if her mother had found out, probably would have beat the hell out of her.
Right.
But it was her favorite thing in the world.
Right.
Because I like, but I think there's this weird twist where we think if we do, high-end food, we're somehow on a moral high ground.
Right.
That the commoners
right.
are not allowed to complain because you went to extreme effort to create a high-end cuisine meal. And it's like, oh, no. Additionally, we also have people that really, they don't believe in food allergies and intolerances, and like they do not believe in that. Like this is all attention seeking, and I have that in air quotes. Attention seeking behavior. So they intentionally try to create menus that disprove your allergy or sensitivity, or go against your cultural belief, or put you in awkward positions to draw negative attention.
Right. Now, I want to jump onto Melissa's case. You have children that are small. Our listeners bring it up, is, the friend took her children there knowing OP's husband cooks in a fancy style. Maybe she should have gotten a sitter, or maybe she should have gotten a cooler. Because here's the facts. If I go somewhere and I know where they're going to be drinking, guess what? I'm going to be grabbing, instead of expecting them to have a barley-free option, I'm going to be grabbing a 6-pack at Next. I'm going to be grabbing me some coolers, whatever, to go with me. If we take the Invisible has a specific diet. If there's going to be dinner plans, we're stopping it away. We're hitting the Little Caesars. We're hitting the gas stations or whatever, bringing his food along. Or we're bringing his food as the covered dish because it's West Virginia. He has one Pacific food that is known for West Virginia. I have sister-in-laws that have Christmas wish list. It happens.
It does. And all of that is fine.
Right.
The realities, though, I don't think in some situations you necessarily recognize that, and maybe this was an off party.
Right.
In which, for whatever reason, OP's husband did not bother to fix a child-friendly menu option. Because these were all afterthoughts. Like PB&J is an afterthought. Cereal is an afterthought.
Right.
Like you're not even planning for it. Like you didn't have a clearly defined, like kid-friendly option.
Right.
Because you knew you weren't dealing with a bunch of college kids.
Right.
Or a bunch of high schoolers.
Right.
You're dealing with the little ones.
Right.
I mean, I think this might be a situation where you've involved kids into your social plan, but you didn't actually involve the kids.
Right.
Like I'm going to go outright and say, OP, you're a horrible host.
Right.
Like, granted, yes, I can agree that you do have to take some responsibility when you go over to your snobby friend's house.
Right.
But do you inherently know that?
Right.
Do you always know that? Is this a first time? Is this this has never happened before? Is this a, first time situation?
Right.
Because sometimes that happens. Like this may have been the first time Melissa was invited over and didn't know what she walked into. Didn't even know what the menu was. Didn't know, you know what I mean? But I think as a host, you have to be reasonable.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of low effort foods that you can make available.
Right.
That it's already pre-done. It's already and takes your guest into consideration, especially when you have little ones.
Right.
Like, for the love of God, you could do lasagna. You can do macaroni and cheese, and you can make it a little higher end, and still get kids to eat it.
Right. Yeah, and I also want to take on this other topic, and people do not like me taking on this topic because I have this opinion. We all have mothers. Some of them are wonderful. Some of them could care less. But mommy shaming, that wasn't mommy shaming. That was food shaming.
It was. Well, but now, see, here's where it becomes mommy shaming.
Okay.
Is effectively when the daughter made the comment, which is a repeat, and even OP admits was a repeat.
Right.
That effectively they're too good for store-bought crap. Inherently, there's always that moment where your mommy is bad because she feeds you store-bought crap. It's the choosy moms choose Jeff problem.
Right.
Is that Jeff, as an ad campaign, made this concept of good moms.
Right.
It's what it boils down to. Good moms feed their kids Jeff. These are moms that care about their kids. Other moms who don't care about their children just feed them any old peanut butter. It becomes and mommy shaming is one of those death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's not like you sit there and literally shame like how horrible mother you are. It's just this little nick of a thing that eventually becomes full on like you're a horrible mother because of the choices you're making.
Right.
And it's like, these aren't like horrible mom choices. Like, you strap your toddler into a car seat and shoot up, heroin in the front seat. You're a horrible mother. I think we can all agree on that. Like, that's pretty. Like, yay for using child safety seats, boo for using heroin.
Right.
That's a horrible mommy choice. But ice cream, store-bought ice cream, should not be something that you feel shame for as a mother, or get put into a situation where you're having to defend the statement of against your action, and give kids the impression that their mommy doesn't care about them.
Right.
Because it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's your mommy bottle fed you. She didn't care about you. Your mommy returned to work after she had you. She didn't care about you. Your mommy doesn't have a husband. She doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
Like, it's on and on and on and on and on. Those are big ones. And then it starts into the little things. Like, well, your mommy feeds you chicken nuggets. She doesn't care about your health.
Right.
Your mommy feeds you store-bought ice cream. She doesn't care about you. Like, do I think Melissa might be a little sensitive there? Possibly.
Yeah.
But I feel like Melissa might also be entertaining outside of her social circle.
Yeah.
Like, she thought she was getting promoted. And no, she met the Joneses, and she is lagging behind.
Well, actually, what she met was a Middle Eastern family, and this was like average cooking for them.
Potentially.
The OP says it in her comments. This is like an average meal for us.
Okay. Well, even if it's an average meal, though, I think you have to understand where you're at, and is
Right.
that a normal average meal?
Right.
It's like if you're sending your kids to the same schools,
Mm-hmm.
you know what an average meal is that they expect
Right.
children to eat. Pizza, French fries, hamburgers, they're like this is your public school system. They send it home to you.
Right.
They make it available. What that menu is. This is what your average kid eats.
Right.
This is the line that they expect for
Right.
child appropriate.
Right.
Now, if your kids are in private school, I'm sure they eat a little better.
Right.
But even private school is going to be limited.
Right.
Like depending upon age group and depending
Right.
upon like how high that budget goes.
Right. All right. So the poll is up on Aeson Knight's YouTube page. Feel free to vote. OP is an asshole, yes, no, or everyone is shitty here. All right, on to our relationship advice question.
All right, end of honeymoon phase versus falling out of love. How do you tell the difference? I, 25 female, have been with 30 male boyfriend for a year, long distance relationship. I am noticing some changes. Not feeling that sweet loving feeling when I realized I fell for him 3 months in. I am more comfortable in the conversation now. I no longer think he is a perfect person or that I have a perfect relationship. This is the longest relationship I've been in, so it is fairly new to me. Also, this could definitely be related to intense work schedules and work related stress and responsibilities, disconnection from distance. I still want to make him happy, surprise him, talk to him, but it's not like, wow, I found the one, I am so lucky anymore. It's more like, he's such a good friend, he is an amazing person, and I want to have sex with him.
Hmm. So, darling, when do you know when the honeymoon phase is over?
I think she described it pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I think that's where she's at. She's out of honeymoon. Like honeymoon's over. Honeymoon ended.
Honeymoon's
You've not
over.
fallen out of love. You've not fallen out of love. You've just come back from the over the moon
Uh-huh.
back to reality.
Right.
And you're now there on the ground looking around at like a standard run of the mill asshole human being,
Mm-hmm.
because we all are. I'm not calling your significant other out like they're an asshole. I mean, we're humans. We're all a little bit of an asshole. That's how we start out. That's pretty much how we live.
Right.
Like we're imperfect. We are flawed. We have issues and problems and things. And no one is perfect. You've realized this. You've come back to reality of the initial new relationship energy, honeymoon phase,
Mm-hmm.
and realize this is a fellow human being who is also, farts and scratches themselves and, does stupid, shitty things and occasionally, is really awesome.
Right.
Puts in the little extra efforts. That's normal. That's normal. Like you're not out of love. You've just hit reality. You've come off the new relationship high. Now the bigger question is this the person? Because you like that new relationship energy, that honeymoon phase, that makes everything so wonderful.
Right.
And now that you've fallen back to reality, you've hit the ground and you're
Mm-hmm.
with this person, do you feel like this is someone whose shit goes with your shit? Do you have matched luggage?
Well, see, I have a more simpler question for this. Have you plotted their death yet?
I thought that was normal in a good functional relationship.
Yes, that's when the honeymoon phase ends. When you
Yes.
decide that they're not worth the 3 meals on cot for the rest of your life, is when you know you're out of love with them.
Wait. Run that again?
If you plot their death, you're still in love with them. Just the honeymoon phase is over.
Okay. And then
if you decide that 3 meals on a cot is too good for them, then you're out of love with them.
Okay, so that it is not worth going to prison for them.
Yes.
It's over.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting perspective.
Okay. Why do you find it interesting?
Well, because at the point in which 3 meals in a cot sounds good, that's the point I think it's over. Like, you need to distance yourself. When you have rationalized that going to prison is not that bad, this is when you've actively moved from normal, I want to kill you, for the shoe pole, to I'm going to.
Right.
And it's like, no. That is no longer a functional relationship. You need to vacate.
Right.
I find it interesting, though. You like two different.
Once you become dispassionate, you don't care. You are out of love with them.
Well, and there's a big difference between, oh my God, I could kill you, and literally wanting to cause physical harm.
Right. We weren't talking about that one, dear.
Like, if they fall and break a limb and you laugh hysterically and there was no, like, they didn't fall off a donkey, slam into a clown, and roll down a hill into, a school bus.
Right.
Which would be funny and appropriate laughter.
Right.
Because, oh my God, the absurdity of that.
Right.
But if, like, they slip and fall in the driveway doing normal things like a normal human and you chuckle inside, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. So, yeah. No, that's your differences between honeymoon, in love, falling out.
Right. When you become disinterested, you don't care, you're in trouble. And that's when you have to, if you're getting into the phase where you're plotting their death, then it's time to start doing things like date night and finding special things about them and giving them gratitude, because that tells you that relationship is needing work. All right, so we're going to hit in the poll, and you have been ruled not the asshole this week.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I think we need an emergency barista meeting. Like, are y'all okay?
Yeah, they're fine. They just see the selfishness behind it. You are not the asshole. They should not have brought the daughter in. All righty. Well, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. And with that, take it away, Joe.
All righty. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. Good night, y'all.
Good night.